On August 29, 1995, Mark Winger called 911, claiming that he had just shot a man who was beating up his wife with a hammer. Within 48 hours, the police had already closed the case and life was moving on for Mark. Mark had already moved on from his dead wife in 3 years and remarried. He had even had 3 children with his new wife. But things would change when the police received unexpected news about the night Mark's wife was supposedly murdered. In June 1995, everything seemed just perfect for Mark and Donna Winger. The nuclear technician and his wife had been happily married for years, and this month, they had just adopted a newborn baby girl named Bailey. This was the happiest moment of their lives because it had already been identified that Donna could not get pregnant. So the only way for her to have a child is if she adopts one or a surrogate mother. Luckily for her, there was a teenager who gave birth but wanted to put up the child for adoption. Since Donna was working in the hospital, she heard about this and took the chance immediately after the baby was born. After Mark and Donna adopted Bailey in June, they spent a few months at home and seemed to enjoy being parents. It was a whole new experience for them, but it was one they had waited for so long. In August 1995, Donna Winger decided to take the baby Bailey on a trip to Florida so that she could meet Donna's family. They only stayed for a short time before coming back to Springfield. When they landed at St. Louis Airport, a cab driver was waiting for them to take them home. And so Donna and her child hopped into Roger Harrington's cab, ready for the 2-hour ride back to Springfield. However, this would be a different ride. Donna reported that Harrington started flirting with her as soon as they were on the road. However, the conversation only got weird and uncomfortable when Harrington started talking about drugs and orgies. Detective Charlie Cox, the police officer who investigated Donna's death, later reported to ABC News. The gentleman started opening up to Donna about issues he was having. He had a voice in his head named Dom. Dom would tell him to do bad things. Recently, Dom was telling him to hurt people. 2 hours later, Donna safely got home with Bailey after a long, scary journey. When she got home, she called the transit company to make a formal complaint about Harrington's behavior. And shortly after that, the driver was suspended. Donna was so disgusted by this that she also told Mark about the experience. At first, Mark played the role of the supportive husband and even helped her file the complaint. However, it later turned out that he had motives for doing so. Days passed after the incident, and it seemed all had been forgotten. However, Mark decided to call Harrington and invite him to his home. This might have been under the pretense of helping him get his job back, but Mark had other plans. So on August 29, 1995, the cab driver wrote Mark's name, address, and time on a scrap of paper in his car. He then drove to the Wingers' home and walked inside with a coffee cup and a pack of cigarettes. But the moment he walked into the house, Mark was waiting for him with his gun, and he shot him twice in the head. After this, with his wife already dead, Mark Winger called 911 and he told the dispatcher that he had just shot the man who was killing his wife with a hammer. He then informed the police that he had been walking on the treadmill in the basement when he heard some commotion upstairs. He immediately grabbed his gun and went to investigate, only to find Harrington swinging a hammer at Donna. In an attempt to protect his wife, Mark shot Harrington twice. When the police arrived, they found that Donna and Harrington had weak pulses. As for Mark, he was in the back bedroom, rocking back and forth in total shock. Steve Weinheft, the former Sangamon County Assistant State Attorney, was on ABC News when he said, Donna was clinging to life. She had been hit no less than 7 times in the head with a hammer. With Donna dead, Mark was now a single father to an infant daughter. He had to take up the responsibility of raising her alone. From time to time, Donna's family would fly to Illinois to help out. But since they couldn't stay, they suggested that Mark hire a nanny. In January 1996, he met 23-year-old Rebecca Simic, who was searching for a job as a nanny in the area. Simic told WHAS-11, "It just felt like Bailey was the one that really needed me the most. She had been through so much already at the age of 3 months." And shortly after meeting Mark, Simic was hired to be the nanny. Mark helped Simic feel at ease as the nanny in the house. But a few months later, the two were sharing a conversation and a glass of wine at the end of a long day In about a year, Simic was already pregnant with Mark Winger's child, and in October 1996, just 14 months after Donna's death, the new couple had already moved to Hawaii and married there. Someday in early '99, Mark felt a bit under the weather, so Simic took him to the emergency room in the hospital where Donna was working before she was murdered. While there, they came across Donna's best friend and co-worker, Deanne Schultz. The moment Schultz saw Mark, she seemed very upset. Simic recalled acting strangely when she first came out as Bailey's nanny. It was as though she was pushing to stay involved in Bailey's life. And the moment they returned home, Mark had a feeling that this was not the last time they would hear from Schultz. Mark was right to feel that, because in February 1999, Schultz approached the police with some enlightening information. This information would change the whole scope of the investigation and bring it back. Schultz reported to the police that she and Mark had been having an affair before Donna's death. During this affair, he once told her things would be easier for them if Donna died. Even more shocking was that after Donna had the fateful ride with Roger Harrington, Mark spoke to Schultz, saying he needed to get the driver to the house. All you need to do is find the body. This is what Mark told Schultz. After listening to Schultz's story, the police decided to look closer at the evidence from the day of the murders. And the more they looked into it, the more they found discrepancies. What they thought was an open and shut case had more questions than answers. Why was there no signs of forced entry into the Winger home that day? Why would Roger Harrington bring his coffee cup and cigarettes to the house if he planned on killing Donna? And more so, why would Harrington use a hammer from Winger's home when he had a tire iron and a knife in his car? As the investigators went through everything from that case, they came across 3 Polaroid photos they had never seen before. These photos were part of the evidence collected in a civil suit that Mark Winger had filed against the transportation company that had employed Harrington. There was something amiss. The position of the bodies in the photos made them rethink about Mark's version of events, and it was not making any sense. According to Mark Winger, Harrington was kneeling right next to Donna's head and he was beating her with a hammer. Mark then walked in and shot him, making him fall backward. This would have left his feet near Donna's head. But from the Polaroid photos, it was the exact opposite. Detective Cox later told ABC, "I was ashamed of how the investigation went. I hurt Roger Harrington's family. I ran his name through hell for no reason. I mean, he was an innocent victim." With all this new evidence, Mark Winger was indicted for the murders of Donna Winger and Roger Harrington on August 23, 2001. He was later taken to trial in May 2002, where a visibly shaken Deanne Schultz had to testify against Mark. She was granted immunity in exchange for her testimony. Still, no evidence directly linked her to anything apart from Mark's terrible secret. At the end of it all, Mark Winger was sentenced to a life in prison without the possibility of parole. 4 years later, he was sentenced to another 35 years in prison when he tried to hire a hitman to kill Schultz for testifying against him. It was also discovered that he attempted to put out a hit against a childhood friend who refused to pay his bail. The motive behind Mark's heinous act of murdering his wife remains shrouded in darkness. Was it fueled by greed, lust, or something more sinister? We may never know the true depths of his depravity. Share your theories and thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for joining us on this disturbing journey into the world of true crime. Don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe for more spine-chilling tales. Until next time, stay vigilant and watch your back.